Welcome everyone to this last day's breaking IT vulnerabilities bits and pieces, starting with the multiple vulnerabilities in IBM's data risk manager. From the vendor's website, what you don't know can't hurt you. Identify and help prevents risk to sensitive business data that may impact business processes, operations, competitive positions, and so on. And yeah, too long, didn't read. Scroll to the bottom to the video. Exploit in action. IBM's Data Risk Manager IDRM is an enterprise security software that, of course, has a bunch of zero-day security vulnerabilities because, now why not? As soon as someone looks, you usually find something. And in an attempt, according here to the authors, made to contact CERT-CC to coordinate disclosure with IBM, but IBM refused to accept the vulnerabilities report and responded to CERT-CC with assessed the report and closed as being out of scope for our vulnerability disclosure program, since the program is only for enhanced support paid for their customers, outlined and so on whatsoever. This is unbelievable response, according to the authors here. Anyway, for a multi-billion-dollar company selling security enterprise products and yeah, multi-billion enterprise security product and services consultancy, and yeah, out of scope, whatever, what could possibly go wrong, don't look too closely, whatever. So they recommend here somewhere also, yeah, multiple vulnerabilities, right? Authentication bypass to do, not assigned yet. And they somewhere recommend uninstall. Where was it here? So fix solutions. IBM refused to acknowledge the vulnerability report. So most likely you won't fix these vulnerabilities. Make sure you uninstall the product so it does not endanger your network company. So yeah, 2020 multi-billion-dollar data risk manager at risk. But I'm not surprised. Just the recurring broken state of IT stuff here in this day and age. Speaking about this day and age, North Korea hacking threatens US and global financial systems, US officials say. If you take a look here, Washington, Reuters, US government officials warned on Wednesday, the other week obviously, a threat of North Korean hackers, calling particular attention to banking and other financial infrastructure services. The reason for the advisory, which was joint issued by the US Department of State, Treasury, Homeland Security and Federal Bureau of Investigation, was unclear. However, North Korean hackers have long been accused of targeting financial institutions. In case you were wondering why we do this exercise here of calling the latest and greatest, most broken infrastructure and software and services. Speaking about software and services, recurring theme here, OpenSSL Security Advisory, 21st of April 2020, segmentation fault, meaning recurring theme here, previous videos, C language is difficult. Some people sometimes call it glorified assembler frontend, and yeah, why probably you shouldn't use C, even for the greatest security researchers and cryptography experts. Not the easiest language to tackle and buffer over underruns, use after free and so on a recurring basis here. And OpenSSL, of course, from all the previous decade of security vulnerability fame. Segmentation fault, of course, meaning exactly this kind of class of securities. And function here in SSL check chain, function during or after TLS 1.3 handshake may crash due to a null pointer dereference as a result of an incorrect handling of signature algorithm cert TLS extension. Also a new bug. So apparently since OpenSSL 1.1.1d, D, E, and F are affected, did not affect versions prior to 1.1.1d, although older versions, of course, out of support and yeah, whatever. But yeah, certainly why I already mentioned a couple of videos, probably not recommended to use a C language. Use something more secure where it is at least harder, if not impossible, to make such kind of memory handling errors and mistakes. However, even in Java, of course, theoretically, you could still have null pointers, although they just terminate your Java runtime environment with some null pointer exception. But yeah. In similar news, recurring theme here, we had this in the last video, I guess. Git project released the following Git versions. All with a security issue CVE 2020-11-008, similar to the recently addressed 2020-5260. Users affected, maintenance tracks urged to upgrade, tarballs found there, and a crafted URL that contains a new line of an empty host or lacks a scheme. The credential helper machinery can be fooled into providing credential information that is not appropriate for the protocol in use and host being contacted. Unlike the previous vulnerability fix there, the credentials are not for the host of the attacker's choosing. Instead, they are for some unspecified host based on how the configured credential helpers handles the absent host parameter. Nonetheless, yeah, C is difficult. We just mentioned that. Wait a second, why do I have this twice? Hackers are selling a critical Zoom zero-day exploit. Yeah, 2020 critical infrastructure zero-day, 500,000. In case you were wondering what's the price tag for this kind of stuff. And people who trade 0 days exploits, meaning of course on the black market for the black hats to use there to hack your communications. 2 Zoom 0 days, one for Windows, one for macOS on the market. Also in case you're wondering how much more secure macOS software is. Hackers are selling 2 critical vulnerabilities, video conferencing software. Also, yeah, previous videos already, a couple of issues there in Zoom. Speaking about Zoom Endpoint-Security considerations. Who put the zoo in Zooms? They write here. They found here, as usual, they spend 2 evenings, I think around 5 to 6 hours total. Also, in case you're wondering, for experts doing this on a somewhat regular basis, how long does it take? I just look 5 to 6 hours and find a couple of Windows issues, statically only, did not perform a runtime analysis. In the report, they summarize what they've seen. So ancient 32-bit application, seriously, why Windows is shipped with 64-bit support. And yeah, also so much to latest and greatest performance of 64-bit processors of AMD, 64 and Intel. Fame, certainly, yeah. Why should this video encoding software high performance if you can just throw some good 20-30% performance or whatever out of the windows there. Anyway, so also other fun stuff like set data, DLL, seriously, usage of the components with known vulnerabilities. So set data, also amazing name, right? Outdated OpenSSL library 1.0.020 from 2018 with end of life since December 2019. Known vulnerabilities as previously seen in all the previous videos, but also concatenation of SQL statements, most likely meaning SQL injection attack with non-escaped stuff there, maybe even in comments apparently. So this is inset data, DLL, an SQL backend is used to store various session data, configuration, and encrypted SQL database, whatever. At several occasions in the code, SQL statements are apparently simply concatenated as they are before, meaning here just with C++, somewhere like operator plus equal there, like where channel something. Although they say here depending, and for delete and stuff, depending on the implementation, though, they apparently maybe did not further analyze this. Of course, very theoretically, the operator could do some escape handling. but not really sure if they analyzed this further. And then this is by chance a Zoom cryptographic decryption key for the encrypted database, like depending on the implementation, something. So maybe they speculate this could maybe the decryption key offset something key, maybe not. However, encrypting an SQL database does not prevent someone from getting access to sensitive data is stored in the database. Like Zoom uses a SQL database for storing history, records, logs, and probably also sensitive data such as passwords and or cryptographic keys. They did not dive further in there, but there is a likelihood that the key is either there or you just inject there some SQL stuff anyway, or attached to the running process and stuff. Potential buffer overflow in set host also. Yeah, of course you prefix your stuff with set, right? Well, anyway, crash report Windows register dump. So also, yeah, what is hiding in there? So this stuff can potentially send a full Windows register dump. Also, why never trust for this kind of communication anyway closed source software, right? Because you never know what's lurking in there. Even in previous video, Firefox telemetry on Windows, but also here potentially sending full registry dumps for debugging purposes. And screen capture function there at CR, so crash something at screenshots. So here, let's just screenshot your stuff, maybe. Also in case someone attaches to your session, like other people. And other vulnerabilities like curl, their curl version, something was released in 2014. So a handful also longer than this IT crashing bits and security pieces. So how many vulnerabilities did we not even call out there in libssh? Apparently curl depends on libssh. What? Seriously? Present in air host access, known vulnerabilities, whatever. Looks a little bit, they've thrown everything in the kitchen sink. Air host encryption with hard-coded passphrase uses a constant value as key for symmetric encryption. SHA-256. Also, yeah, if you just use some SHA, something doesn't make it super secure. If you use some fixed string like 12345, 12345, 24, and so on, whatever, initialize OpenSSL EVP, CBC context for encryption, and so on. So, yeah, top-notch security, allegedly, according to this findings here anyway. And also Turbo JPEG for the open source multi-threaded JPEG, accelerated JPEG implementation. But yeah, they also see this kind of throwing every library you can find in there, not using system services like each program, IT infrastructure in 2020, each program brings, like Firefox and Zoom and stuff, each program and stream and games certainly, each program brings its own JPEG decoder, because why not? And then, of course, yeah, written in C is hard, integer overflow and stuff. And when you have these components, which in any case, I in T2 usually try to build stuff with system components, which increasingly gets harder. Fun fact, just the other week I had to disable system SQL because apparently Firefox 2020 doesn't support building the system libsql, but yeah. Anyway, leave in the comments below what you think. And in general, this is just a summary rushing through over here. So if you certainly want to read all the details, decide for yourself and leave in the comments below what you think about the state of the stuff. Speaking about this, Cognizant confirms Maze ransomware. I didn't even really know about this company, like not working with whatever. Apparently this is a big company. Leave in the comments below if you knew this. Didn't ring a bell for me, but these are these big companies providing allegedly military grade, top-notch, largest tech and consulting company stuff. Fortune 500. Leave in the comments below if you knew about them. Maybe I should read more newspapers and scroll the Fortune 500. But yeah, Fortune 500 security and largest tech and consulting, and yeah, of course, they certainly were using the IBM risk what was the name, IBM Data Risk Manager, and now they have some ransomware. Confirmed they were hit with the ransomware attack. Details remain skin beside brief. Statement on the site confirming that the security incident involving their internal systems causing service disruption of some of their causing service disruption some of their clients results in the Maze ransomware attack. Internal security teams are on it. Leading cyber defense firms are actively taking steps to contain this incident. There was recurring theme here, running this kind of software, Windows and stuff and so on. Speaking about Intel released just like now, version 1.0, April 2020, a summary here, Converged Security and Management Engine, IOMMU hardware issue that we probably covered last year, 2019-0090. However, now you get a full white paper. In case you want to read about this background, this was for the platform controller hub, consists of a set of hardware blocks, IPs connected by their internal fabric. And this had the system agents here, compromised firmware of RS1 DMA capability, bypass root of trust stuff that we, I think, shouted out there. And so they released a full white paper here in case you want to refresh here. And also how many keys, right? They always say we have top-notch security, fear not. And it's like we have like 7 encryption keys in there. Like, yeah, if everything is similar insecure, then all the different keys like chipset key and private key and group ID key and private key for EPID 1 and 2 and so on. So yeah, even all of this chipset keys and fused encryption hardware keys help you a little if layers of security, and at the end still key derived by ROM. And yeah, there you have it. TCP recovery, CSME data migration. Probably want to take a look here, but yeah, also the state of IT getting increasingly complex. This is why I usually prefer my stuff stupid simple. For me, I don't even need this management engine, use it for nothing. And even if you have a big corporation like this Cognizant, at the end of the day, if you have all the same systems from yesteryear with Intel's security vulnerabilities, at the end, yeah, this is where people get in, and IBM's Risk Manager, and Microsoft Windows, and you name it. And at the end, if this stuff is so complex, I wonder how many people even use this management engine, and at the end only causes problems. And even if you, like we here, try to keep an overview, it is even hard to keep an overview with so many details where you don't even know what is hiding in there anymore. And I would just want to have a CPU with all of this management stuff, just run open source Linux or other microkernel based systems, and vendors increasingly hiding stuff all over the place, and then hardware bugs and vulnerabilities, and yeah, somehow a very sad state. Really hard to still recommend something. Leave in the comments below what you think. I would in general, because in honestly this kind of complex IT state is kind of unmanageable. So much complexity from the hardware, the firmware, EFI, Windows, so many layers and stuff. And at the end, everything is somehow broken. And yeah, security by obscurity in the BIOS, in the hardware management engine, in Windows certainly. I rather would like a simple Pentium style CPU without all this management engine, and just have Linux on there without all the firmware stuff, like Linux firmware without basically any EFI stuff. Because in the end of the day, if something is broken, then yeah, vendors have it hard to ship updates and actually fix the stuff. I wonder how many, although there were some firmware updates, how many of the hardware out there at big Fortune 500 companies is actually running still with the security vulnerabilities. But yeah, leave me in the comments below what you think about the state. Speaking about the state, online banking struggles as people check for coronavirus. Stimulus checks, Chase Capital One, PNC banks and others have reported outages and other issues as IRS stimulus checks here in the USA for this crisis are set to hit the accounts. why do I include this? I include this here for infrastructure in 2020. You would think with cloud and scaling and whatnot and amazing military grade and highly secure infrastructure. It doesn't even, online banking 2020 in the US or certainly other states doesn't even survive if all the customers go to a website and check their account status. And this is not even all customers, right? We're speaking about 100 millions of customers. So much to, yeah, you have your Intel Xeon glorified whatever in your data center with all the security mitigations costing you 10-20% performance, obviously, plus some nice virtualization stack. At the end of the day, the software, likely Java or whatever runtime stuff there, I guess at the banking side, so inefficient software that it doesn't even survive 100 million people there in the US, certainly not all kids and stuff checking at a time. So probably if you say only 1%, like one person checks at 19 o'clock, another at 20 or 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. for you there over in the States. And so certainly not everyone checks at like one time. So factoring in kids and stuff do not check. And so like maybe 100,000 people and then all do not check at one time, but over like the evening. So maybe 1 million people an hour check the account and the system already breaks down. It's like, what the heck system is it even? The satire and jokes already write themselves, in case you were wondering. And yeah, keep your software stupid and simple, and then probably also scales to 1 million customers. Speaking about millions of billions of phones cannot use Google's and Apple's contact tracing app. I guess we mentioned this in the other video, where like last week's video of this COVID tracing virus stuff, that I have my doubts that it works too well anyway, because in my opinion this Bluetooth stuff is just too imprecise, too much false positives. I have high doubts that if you walk the street or say some shopping mall, it doesn't pick up way too many random people, way too far away. So I have high doubts that this contact tracing stuff has any value. Probably ask you, leave a comment below what you think about this. But then even all of the more risk groups of elderly and stuff even have older phones, usually most likely, and 2 billion phones cannot use Google or Apple's contact tracing tech here. This article says system developed by Silicon Valley relies on technology missing from older handsets of Bluetooth 5 low energy. Billions of phones owners around the world will be unable to use the smartphone based. So yeah, so not only did I had, even if you say you have the latest and greatest phones in everyone's hands, I have high doubts that this yields any usable data whatsoever, not picking up random people far away that you barely meet, and then probably the recurring theme here of systems not as intelligent, and probably your own intelligent of you and your surrounding people, just like keeping distance yourself and not, I mean, what does it help? It certainly helps way more to keep distance, social distance, and walk there with a meter or two distance, and use your masks and your common sense of not getting too close to people, than your smartphone in your pocket gathering data, and then many data points are not even data points because too old phone, and even if it's state-of-the-art phones, and in my opinion mostly, as many other experts already say, most likely too much random garbage, garbage in to a system, garbage out. Yeah, there you have that, even too old for that. I hope you learned something. Leave in the comments below what you think. Probably I soon, the problem is not only did I most likely, I also don't want to show this advertisement, so whatever. Probably I try to experiment because I have the feeling this long news segment might not provide the best value for most people. Probably try to experiment with having more regularly or more irregularly shorter segments of 1 or 2 breaking news a day or something. But anyway, I hope you learned something anyway and found this useful. Long story short, software is too complex. Even the biggest companies can barely get their risk manager and processors right there of IBM's or Intel's fame. And I hope to see you soon for all the next videos and live streams to come.